Pride makes people posture strength, but true strategists understand that projected power creates instant defense. When you fight for every inch, you alert your opponent. But when you feign weakness, yield ground, and gift them a false sense of victory, their psychological guard drops completely. Tactical vulnerability is the ultimate Trojan horse. In this masterclass, learn how to feed their ego, weaponize calculated defeats, and execute a devastating counterstrike when their overconfidence reaches its peak. Human beings are wired to exploit vulnerability whenever they spot it. The Trojan weakness is the deliberate exposure of a minor, controlled vulnerability, a fake flaw, an engineered budget constraint, or an exaggerated fear to bait an opponent into reckless action. When an opponent spots what they believe is your critical weakness, their predatory instincts kick in. Driven by the desire to capitalize on your apparent flaw, they rush forward, overextending their resources, revealing their primary strategy, and burning through their leverage. By gifting them a target, you control exactly where they focus their energy and direct their attacks straight into your prepared defenses. When two forces push against each other in direct conflict, both sides remain hyper-vigilant, tense, and defensive. The strategic retreat disrupts this friction by suddenly yielding ground on non-essential points. Instead of fighting for every concession, you intentionally step back, admit a minor miscalculation, or grant the opponent an early tactical win. Believing they have broken your resolve, the opponent experiences a surge of relief and superiority. Their brain shifts from an active battle state to a passive, victorious state, causing their psychological defenses to crumble. Once their guard is down and their vigilance vanishes, you operate in an environment of total stealth, repositioning your assets to dominate the core objectives without facing any friction. Ego is the single greatest vulnerability in high-stakes negotiations. The egocentric blind spot technique involves actively feeding your opponent's need for dominance, intelligence, and moral superiority. By asking for their expert advice, adopting a self-deprecating tone, or letting them control the surface-level narrative of the room, invalidate their pride. As their ego inflates, a dangerous cognitive blind spot opens up. They begin to view you as weak, incompetent, or easily manipulated. In their mind, you are no longer a threat worth monitoring. This profound underestimation gives you absolute operational freedom. While they indulge in the illusion of being the smartest person in the room, you quietly engineer the structural terms, control the flow of real value, and secure total influence right beneath their unseeing eyes. The master strategist utilizes calculated defeat, deliberately accepting a visible, highly public loss on a secondary issue to secure total victory on the primary objective. By allowing the opponent to claim a dramatic, visible trophy, you satisfy their audience, protect their pride, and make them feel overwhelmingly successful. In return for this public concession, you quietly extract high-value structural guarantees, favorable legal terms, or hidden financial leverage that they view as minor trade-offs. The predator-prey dynamic dictates that the attacker only watches for threats from other predators, never from their target. The prey trap is the psychological maneuver of adopting the posture of an overwhelmed, desperate target facing impossible pressure. You express stress over deadlines, signal anxiety regarding their demands, and project an aura of impending surrender. This engineered vulnerability tricks the opponent into lowering their caution and abandoning their risk assessment protocols. By playing the helpless target, you lure the predator deep into your operational territory, sealing the cage shut behind them before they ever realize they were the ones being hunted all along. The climax of tactical vulnerability is not the retreat itself, but the sudden, irreversible counterattack that follows it. The counterstrike lock is executed at the exact psychological moment when your opponent's overconfidence reaches its absolute peak, the moment they believe the deal is finished, the battle is won, and you have no remaining leverage, having spent the interaction feeding their ego, ceding non-essential territory, and lowering their operational guards mainish. Because the opponent has already publicly committed to their victory, announced their success, and abandoned their aggressive posture, they experience a catastrophic mental freeze. They cannot walk away without destroying their own narrative and admitting that their victory was an illusion. Simultaneously, their cognitive energy is completely drained from their earlier offensive pushes. Faced with a sudden, immovable wall at the finish line, they lack the momentum and defense to re-engage in battle. Disoriented, overextended, and psychologically exhausted, they have no option left but to accept your final, uncompromising terms. You win not by overpowering their force, but by turning their own arrogant momentum into the very weight that crushes them.